There's two kinds of people in this world, savers and investors. Which are you? We're going to talk about it in this edition of Sunday PowerPoint. I release these videos every Sunday morning. They're faith-based messages on finance. And if you like that subject, then follow along. Now, I want to tell you a story about a rich ruler who left town, but before he did, he gave some of his servants some of his money. He gave one servant 5 talents, he gave another servant 2 talents, and he gave the last servant 1 talent. He left for a few years, and when he came back, he wanted to check on the money that he left them. So he went to the first servant and said, "Hey, what'd you do with the 5 talents?" He said, "Hey, I have 10 talents. I created 10 talents out of the 5. And so here it is." Well, he says to him, he's so excited. He says to him, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Because you doubled what I gave you, I'm going to give you more." The guy with 2 talents says, "Hey, I now have 4 out of the 2 you gave me. I doubled what you gave me." And the ruler's so excited. He's like, "Hey, well done, my good and faithful servant. Because you've been faithful over the little that I've given you, I'm going to make you ruler over more." Now, the last servant was scared. So he didn't want to lose that money. So he went and just buried it and put it in the ground. So when the ruler came to him and said, "Hey, where's my money?" He said, "Hey, it's right here. I know that you are somebody that reaps where you don't sow and that you're a very hard man. So I didn't want to lose your money. So here it is." And I don't think he got the answer he was expecting, because the ruler got ticked off. He said to him, "You wicked and lazy servant." He said, "You should have at least deposited my money in the bank so that way I could have gotten interest for it. But now I just have exactly what I gave you." So he took his money and gave it to the guy who now had 10. Some of you may have heard this story before. It's called the Parable of the Talents, and it's found in Matthew 25, verse 14. Oddly enough, it's called the Parable of the Talents because a talent is a measure of money in the olden days. Everybody always focuses on the one guy who has 1 talent, and he buried it and he ticked off the master. But when I looked at this story, God showed me something that had popped out to me that I'd never really seen before. And I began to focus on the 2 guys who had doubled their money. I mean, these are the real rock stars of the story, right? I mean, they took something, doubled it, and then they got even more because the master was so excited. So I know if you're watching this video right now, you are the person who is wanting more in life. You're not satisfied with where you're at. You might be in debt, you might be in financial problems, or you might just be cruising along and not really doing anything great with your money. I hope this video will challenge you with what I'm about to show you. Now, if you're not a Christian and you don't really read the Bible or anything, that's totally fine. I'm just pulling out some principles here that the Bible talks about. The Bible talks about money over 800 times. It has a lot to say about finances, and it has stood the test of time. What blows me away is that Jesus calls this guy who buried his talent a wicked and lazy servant. The fact that this guy didn't even take the time to learn, to educate himself on how to multiply money made him, in the eyes of his master, wicked and lazy. And in verse 29, he says the other guys will have more, and he says that they will have abundance. I don't know about you, but I want to be the guys that have abundance. I've lived without, I've lived in poverty before, I've lived paycheck to paycheck, and it is not fun. And I know there's a certain fear that goes along with, man, I've actually got some money now and I'm scared to lose it. So the safe thing to do is to just put it under my mattress and not do anything with it. And I'm gonna say this, that is the lazy way. Because savers are losers. You know what inflation is doing now. You know what the value of our money is now. Saving money is not a good long-term financial plan. So back to the 2 guys that doubled their money, because these guys, I'm telling you, are rock stars. What did these guys know? What did these guys do? This is things that keeps me up at night, because these 2 guys had knowledge of how money worked. Now, money's a tool. You know, it's a lot easier to chop a tree down with a chainsaw than it is with an axe. But if I don't know how to use a chainsaw and I just see a chainsaw there and I pick it up, but don't know how to operate it, it's useless to me. It's not an advantage. But if you learn the tools it takes and the knowledge and the education it takes, how money works, how to use it as a tool, how to make it benefit you. Money is leverage. And if you learn how to operate that leverage, you can benefit greatly from it. And this all takes financial education. My whole channel is about educating you on how to use money, on how to be smarter with your money and invest with your money. There's a reason why we use the terms currency or cash flow, because money is made to move. Money is supposed to go through your hands and out of your hands. But the problem that most of us have is the money goes out of our hands into stupid stuff instead of going through our hands into things that create more money. Like these two servants, they went and put those talents or that money into something that created more money. I can only imagine what they did with it. I mean, did they go buy some land and then sell the land? Did they go buy a business? Did they go start a business? Did they go buy some livestock and then resell the livestock? I mean, they did something. The fact of the matter is that they had the knowledge to do it. Now, why was the other guy called lazy? Because he didn't take the initiative to learn how to do it. These other guys obviously weren't lazy. I don't know about you, but I definitely want to be like the guy who had the 5 and made it into 10. And I don't want to be like the wicked guy who was called lazy. So I want to challenge you today to think about those two guys, who they were, what they did. Who do you want to find yourself like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Do you want to be the lazy dude? Or do you want to be the guys who were made rulers over much and were given more? I'm going to tell you, when you start educating yourself about money, money will become attracted to you. It's just the way it works. Have you ever heard the phrase, man, that guy's rich or that girl's rich? Money just like seems to attract to them all the time. Or it takes money to make money. Yeah, people say that because money is attracted to them because they figured out some key principal things that attract money. It's called financial education. So apparently God favors those who understand how money works. God is into the multiplication of money. I mean, all the patriarchs in the Old Testament were wealthy dudes. Abraham was a wealthy dude. God loves to bless his people. Hey, I hope you got something out of this message. If you did, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell to see the future videos. I'll see you next Sunday on PowerPoint.